Good afternoon. This is the cliff notes of our June town hall. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's actually D-Day, and I think it's important for June that we remember and honor this day. I think it's a very important day for all of us. Many a soldier lost their lives today, and we're losing this population as they begin to age out and leave us. So it's a good reminder of why we do what we do. So I kind of noted that at the start of the town hall. And then I did what I traditionally do at every town hall. I talk about what are our three key priorities. You know, how do we put veterans first every day in everything we do in every service? Second is, how do we make this a better place for our employees? You know, particularly looking at, do we have the right structures? Do we have the right process? Do we have the right people? And then lastly, how do we continuously work on a culture of fairness and excellence as we try to move forward as a medical center in a very competitive market environment. I then kind of did a couple quick introductions, so please take a moment to look at the PowerPoints. I introduced Kathy Craig. Kathy's our new nurse exec, associate director for patient care services. She's over 33 years of experience as a nurse leader, both in med-surg, inpatient, outpatient, specialty areas, brings a lot of experience with her to our team in Wilmington, and I'm excited about having her here and about the ways that she's going to contribute to help us to continuously improve. So welcome to Kathy, and please, she'll be making her rounds and we'll be setting up meetings, so you have an opportunity to meet with her and other folks. I reminded folks we're about 67% through the fiscal year. We're doing fairly well. Right now, as of today, we have 1,058 FTE on board. We're within budget. We're now moving in the phase of the budget cycle of starting to wrap up 2018. We have a couple action items, particularly with some new funding that came for equipment. So we've got to get those procurement packages pulled together, get that equipment procured and put in place for us for the back end of this year, beginning of 19. So that'll be a big focus. Mary Ann and her team will also begin to meet with folks as we begin to prep up the budget preparations and implementations for 2019. So more to come on that, but that's sort of where we are from the state of the state. The other key updates that I gave was I talked a little bit about, as of June 1st, we've moved toward a regional surgical service model. Under the direction of the VISN, we're now working much more closely with Philadelphia, Coatesville, and our surgical program to have a more coordinated, integrated service here in the eastern market. The western part of the VISN has been doing this for some time. We're now bringing it to the east. The idea is, how do we leverage each other? How do we improve and increase the utilization of our surgical services here? And talking to Dr. Rice and to Vicki, it was clear that our efficiencies were below about 40% utilization of our ORs. By combining the resources, we should be able to do more surgeries here. The idea is that some of the basic cares, particularly as we start to ramp up, will occur here. And some of the more complex surgeries will occur in Philadelphia. We will have our surgeons cross-trained. There will also be surgeons from Philadelphia that will come and operate here. Vicki and Kathy will be leading the effort on educating and getting our nursing staff ready so that we can properly do the pre-op the same day, as well as the post-care from a nursing perspective, and having those competencies in place so that we can gear up. Our intent is to grow our surgical programs back with this new model. We've already started that. Dr. Foti has been on board for a month. I was told in Morning Report this morning that we've already started our first surgical cases for ortho, and that he's building his OR cases pretty quickly. So some exciting things to come. Mike Amos will be working from our end with Lou Rittenhouse from Philadelphia in pulling together the operation plan, sort of laying down the action plan with key milestones that will sort of further detail and describe how this new regional model will roll out. So more to come on that, but I thought it was important everybody knows what we're doing. Dr. Robert Kraus, who is the chief of surgery in Philadelphia, will be the chief for this regional model. And in future meetings, I'll share the org chart, and we'll talk further about this new approach to care delivery here in the eastern part of VISN 4. I also shared with everybody some of the updates on where we are. The new sale data came out about 2 weeks ago. It lags. The information was really for first quarter 2018. What it now shows us is that we've made some progress. We're now what they call quintile 3. We've moved up a full quintile, which shows that we're improving in the quality of care that we deliver. Overall, there's a chart that shows the progress that we've made over the last year, where we've moved from the lowest quintile to pretty much the upper echelons of quintile 3. So much of the great work that all of you have been doing is starting to show up in the data. I caution us, we still have some work to do. Our utilization management on inpatient still requires a great deal of time and attention. We're still in the lower performing quintiles for that metric. Our ambulatory care sensitive conditions still need a lot of work on how we manage COPD, congestive heart failures, and making sure that we have the appropriate ambulatory follow-up when somebody's discharged from the hospital, so they don't cycle back to more acute services, and that we can try to manage them effectively in the ambulatory setting. That's an area that continues to need some work. Our veteran satisfaction continues to be a major challenge. I've got Dr. Slavinsky and Dr. Qureshi working on some strategies that we're getting direct feedback from veterans in real time, so we can do service recovery. The idea is to then kind of give that information back to the providers and to the PAC teams, so that people can have a better appreciation for how the veteran's perceiving the way that we deliver the care. But we have to continue to work on our soft skills. We have to be able to tangibly demonstrate that we care about the veteran, that we're interested in them beyond just filling out the reminders during a visit, but that we really care about them, and that we want to make sure they're getting the best quality of care that they can get anywhere. We have to convey that every day. The other thing that we need to continue to work on are the HEDIS and the EPRP measures. So we have to make sure we're doing the screenings, particularly the alcohol, the depression, and the PTSD screens, as well as the HEDIS measures, where we're looking at key indicators, for hypertension, high cholesterol, and a variety of other measures, that we're doing them timely, and that we're documenting them so we get full credit. These are some things that were in the lower performing quintiles that if we put our time and attention to, that I think we can really turn that around. I then spoke about what are we going to do for the remainder of this year, and I listed 6 key things that have to remain a focus for us. One is continue to make the changes in care and community, where we work toward a decentralized model. I had Jody C. Wright come up and talk a little bit about what's actually going on there. We've worked down the backlog tremendously. We are hiring the nurse navigators, and I think that nicely positions us for the new Mission Act that was just signed by the President, that will go into effect in the next 365 days. So we're beginning the prep work to move forward with that. We're also going to continue to work on developing the Veterans Experience Office, a care coordination office. I've asked Kim Butler to oversee the activation of a much more robust palliative care program that will include a Jerry Pact, that will include looking at hospice, looking at comfort care, and really expanding the way that we work with veterans and their families in the community to make sure that we're keeping families and veterans together as they go through changes in life and approach end of life, that we help them do that in a much more dignified way than what we're currently doing. So I'm very excited about that. There's a team that's been put in place. Kim will update everybody next month on how that's proceeding. But they're going to be the key priorities that we continue to focus on for the remainder of this year, to really get those clinical services in place, get those supportive services in place, so that we can do a better job in taking care of our veterans. I then spoke briefly about the new Mission Act. I talked about some of the key changes where it's going to be more clinically focused, clinically driven. What does the patient and the provider agree on as what's best for them? It's really moving away from a rules-based approach where we used to look at 40 miles in 30 days to now, based on the diagnosis, based on veterans' capabilities, based on the provider's assessment, we will link them to care in the community or care with us so that they get the very best care closest to home and done in a coordinated way. The focus on us will be to kind of make sure we're coordinating the care, that there's no lapses, that we're looking at ways to evaluate the effectiveness of that care. There's some added benefits to the veterans, including urgent care. I'll go into much more detail about this next month, but I wanted everybody to know why we were making changes in care in the community. How does that relate to the new legislation, and what's really going to be our way forward from here? The last thing I mentioned for today's town hall is that we are in the midst of the all-employee survey. I believe it runs from June 4th to the 25th. So it's a much more consolidated time period for people to give us our feedback. I really ask everybody to participate in this. I think we've made great strides this year. Lots of really positive changes are underway. I think you can see those changes in the quality indicators. You can see the changes in the feedback that we get when we go around and do our rounds, and really see how each of you are making a difference, making this a better place to work, as well as a better place where veterans can come and get their care. We still have a lot of things to do, and what I had asked was Bruce Panasek, who was a physician here for 10 years, retiring, served in many roles, including the chief of surgery and the chief of staff, got up and spoke a little bit about his experiences, some of the trials and tribulations that have occurred here, what's been helpful, what's been challenging, where there have been setbacks, but really what do we need to do going forward. And I think the bottom line to that whole entire presentation was we need to be persistent, we need to be proud of who we are, we need to work as a team so that we can achieve the goals that we've laid out for ourselves, for our veterans, so that again, we tie it all back to the three priorities. How do we put veterans first every day, every service, and everything we do? How do we make this a better place so that if you're out with a colleague at dinner and there's a job opening in your area, you could comfortably say to them, hey, you should take a look at Wilmington. This is a really good place to practice. Or it's a great place to serve veterans, or I really love my job, I think you'd like it there. And then lastly, how do we continue to work on creating a culture of fairness, excellence, and safety in everything we do? The good news and the take-home message is lots of progress, lots of forward movement, yet we're still not where we want to be. There are some key challenges that we really need to tackle as a team. Not take on too much, stay focused on these key priorities for the remainder of this year, and kind of make sure that we remain relevant in a very competitive market. I appreciate all that you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You are making a difference. Look forward to seeing and talking to all of you again next month. Thanks.